So the other day I came across this article that I thought was super pertinent to this channel because it demonstrates the different types of abusers and kind of how they walk through life completely undetected. I came across this article. It's on Psych Central. It is by Dr. Cherise Steins. It's called The Types of Abusers, and this one is the victim abuser. And as I read, some of you are going to find likeness in this because this is very, very, very common with covert abusers like narcissistic abusers, where in order to avoid accountability, they will play the victim, or in order to get what they want, they will claim victimhood. I mean, especially narcissistic abusers, if they do have NPD, I mean, it's really common for them to look for attention, sympathy, and praise wherever they could find it. And a lot of times they achieve this through stories of victimhood. When you're the target of covert abuse, your abuser may present as a victim. This can be particularly confusing to you, the real victim, as you spend countless energy trying to prove to the perpetrator your undying love in order to save the relationship. So she identifies victim abusers as self-centered. Victim abusers usually portray themselves as innocent, hurt, blameless, wounded souls caught up innocently in poor behavior of other person, usually a previous partner or circumstance. Does this sound familiar to any of you? These victim abusers, she calls them victims, but victims, quotation, victims. Victim abusers are self-centered and when in relationships are only capable of seeing their own hurt, even if it's fabricated, meaning that they could fabricate imaginary circumstances where they are the victim and they feel hurt. Or, a lot of times I see this in manipulation tactics, how something absolutely benign like a victim repeating over and over and over again how much it hurts that the abuser lies about them, that victim abuser will flip it and use a Dargo technique, deny, attack, reverse, victim and offender. Meaning then they'll be like, oh, I hurt you, well, you hurt me on this day and this day and this day, and what about what you did here? And that's a form of gaslighting. So she also identifies that these types of abusers will sabotage their own happiness because by blaming other people, they are starving themselves of self-growth. When we constantly blame other people and we're not self-reflecting, then we're not identifying the real problem at hand. And so this behavior will be repeatedly done throughout relationships to the point where this is going to be the number one factor in why the relationship has ended. How targets are affected. And this is their internal narrative that they try to sell to others. Everyone has done me wrong, particularly my previous partners, poor me. If you start accusing me of being abusive, you are just proving that you are just as cruel and unfair to me as the rest of them. A lot of you guys can relate that these types of abusers will sell their stories of victimhood from the get-go. Like, this person hurt me and I was bullied in school and my uncles tried to attack me for no reason and I was fired because they didn't like me, and all this nonsense. It's very nauseating to people who are naturally accountable for their actions. And then more of the narrative. It is justifiable for me to do whatever I feel you are doing to me, and even to make it quite a bit worse in order to make sure you get the message. Sometimes these imaginary narratives where they make it up or they think of it as a possibility and then breathe life into it. So, I mean, there are types of abusers that assume victimhood. The more common one that I'm hearing about is vulnerable narcissists and narcissistic abuse, that they will often play the victim. This is how they solve their issues, absolve themselves of accountability, and also exploit their victims and get supply, because sympathy is just another form of attention. And if they're being validated through untrue statements, they're going to continue to do it. It doesn't have to be the truth. It can be embellishment on the truth or just a plain lie. A lot of times that is the only case, just to make sure that their public image isn't smeared, so they smear an innocent person's. This is what I'm finding is the most common with this type of abuser.